Hey guys, welcome to El Pilar Orchids. Thanks for checking in for a little work today. Yes, we're gonna repot this new Paphiopedilum. It's a little floppy. So yeah, we gotta repot this guy today, and we'll talk a little bit about what it is. Philippinense crossed with Hainaldianum, a primary Paphiopedilum hybrid between two species. And we picked up this plant for a project that's going on the orchid board, even though we're a little bit late to like the spring project, annual spring project. We had a big summer, and so we weren't really able to get the plant here and get it shipped until now. Gonna put it into semi-hydroponics. So if you are new to semi-hydroponics to get a quick glimpse of that, let's have some repot fun. So we're in the kitchen now, and this is where I do most of the repotting against the boss's wishes. I know she gets mad. All right, so put down the bag to dump out. Now this plant, supposedly this hybrid is called Lebaudianum, and it was registered in 1895. Now that was the actual reciprocal cross, so it was Hainaldianum crossed with Philippinense, but in orchids, you name reciprocal crosses the same registered name. So this is, I guess, from what I understand, technically also a Paphiopedilum Lebaudianum. You can kind of see there's the roots are looking good. Let's take a closer look at them. You know, it's gonna be tough. It looks like some of them are grown sticking to the plastic, so gotta be I like to be gentle. Some people say you can just pull them. I do like to slowly squeeze the pot and let the hairs break loose. That's just how I've always repotted plants. I don't know. That's the method I'm comfortable with. You can do different things, but just squeezing the plastic, you can kind of see how it rolls off the plastic when you squeeze it. So it's a pretty gentle method, right? All right, and then it comes out. Get that out to the side. All right. Now for half roots, I like to be a little bit gentle with them. They are brown and they have hairs on them, and that's how they should look. Now putting it into semi-hydroponics, it's going to be completely inorganic, and I don't want most of this organic bark in the semi-hydro, but at the same time I don't want to have to like really rip some of these chunks off. So I'll clean it mostly, but maybe not absolutely perfectly. And the sink will help me with this process, so I'll take it to the sink and put it down in there. Now for repotting paths into semi-hydroponics, we've done this almost any time of year. We haven't had any problems with it as far as like winter repotting. Even that doesn't seem to bother them too much. And some paths, it seems like most of the ones that we have, they really seem to appreciate a good repot. They tend to perk up a little bit, surprisingly, and bounce back after repotting, which is always nice. Yeah, the roots are really good. Super healthy root system. All inside. There's nothing rotten down in the middle. That's kind of always what you want to look out for. Yeah, I don't typically with paths, when you get them, I don't cut any of the roots off. I mean, it has to be a really tough case. Here I think is some of that mold. Fungus, I guess it was. It was like a white little mushroom going in there. Yeah, got a nice growing root tip right there, so there's a new root coming on, which is always good to see. So now I'm going to take this to the sink and see what the water will do. I'll be back in a second. Alright, now I've got it cleaned up. I've washed the plant really well. Most of the bark is out, and you can kind of see some growing root tips there at the ends of some of these roots. So very nice, healthy root system. It's bigger than I was anticipating, so getting it into my container is going to be a bit tricky, right? So these are 1 liter soda bottles that we cut and then drill a little hole down here. And then for semi-hydro, there's a reservoir that stays full of water that's here. But you can see this is a pretty small container for a pretty big root system. So yeah, I don't think that's gonna work. I gotta figure out something else. I always use these. Uh-oh. And now for your orchid interlude of the day, we have another first-time bloom on a seedling that we deflasked about 3 years ago now. And this is a cross between Gigantea, Phalaenopsis gigantea, crossed with Phal Sogo White. And we saw a picture that another person had posted of this, and that was years ago now, and I'm going from memory, but I thought that person had shown basically a white flower with like red markings around the lip. And this is not at all what I was expecting to get from this cross. So if anybody remembers or is on the orchid board and could find it, I couldn't find the picture. It was from a user called Sade, S-A-D-E, and she grew it down in Spain. And yeah, she's not around too much anymore, and I was trying to dig through. I couldn't find it. Anyways, pretty cool flower on this. It didn't form perfectly. The lip is a little wonky, and one of the little fangs is messed up, but the coloration is pretty cool. I mean, this yellow background with a blush of pink is pretty interesting compared to this yellow. Super happy that it bloomed. And we'll see how the other one looks. We have one more from this flask, so we'll see how different it is or similar. Hopefully we get it to bloom, although it's a little bit smaller. If you happen to know if this is a registered cross and has a name, that would be great if you could comment that down below. We also couldn't find if this has been registered yet. That'd be cool to see what it's called. So yeah, thanks if you know. The other rebloom or first bloom seedling, also about 3 years out of flask. This is Phalaenopsis Chiata Francis Piketty crossed with Phalaenopsis Telbird. So yeah, really nice looking little phal, still in bloom. It's been in bloom now for, well, we don't exactly know when it opened. It opened when we were on vacation, and we also don't know the name of this. So if you have like a Orchid Whiz subscription, or if you happen to know if this is a registered hybrid, that would be cool if you could comment that down below. Thanks. Here's the emergency measure. What I'm going to do is just put it back into the same pot. Except I'm going to grow it in kind of like a semi-hydroponic method. So I've put some, I'm just going to grow it in pure leca pellets, and then I'll just keep some water down in the bottom of the pot here. And yeah, that's not as much air movement as I want, but hey, we'll try it this way. This is an experiment plant after all for a project, so hey, might as well try something a little different. See how it does. I don't know how this is going to fit in. I need to pull that out. So, normally I employ the like twist technique, but now that I've kind of teased everything apart, it's going to be bigger than it was originally. And yeah, even though this one looks kind of a little dead and it is broken, I'm still going to just keep it and tuck it down in there. Really, now I'll fill in all the holes and gaps with leca. Yeah, looks pretty good. And I'll just pour it in from the top, and I won't do the whole thing, as you go. Just pour in a little bit. Probably can't even see that from your angle. Pour in a little bit and then, yeah, push it down, tuck down the roots. Trying to be gentle with them. Now, I don't know what the deal is with floppy Paphiopedilums. We have had a couple of these paths go floppy. Typically, it's, well, one was our Spicerianum, which is actually in bud right now with 2 buds growing, which is awesome. But last fall, it started to flop and droop like this on a couple of the growths. And I don't know, I did some research to try to find out what causes that, and wasn't really able to find too much on it. I mean, there's several different, you know, obvious theories out there that people always suggest, and a couple things I saw, namely dehydration, and also one of the things I saw is over-fertilization. So I don't know, we just got this plant, and if anything, it may have been dehydrated because it was in a box for a few days, and yeah, I gotta be careful of this new growing root coming out there. I don't want to damage that at all. But it was in a box for a couple days, and it was pretty hot during those couple days, and actually it got delivered. I didn't realize we have most of our stuff delivered to our work, our school, and it got delivered, and yeah, I didn't get the message, and so I left it there for an extra day when it was propped up in a window with the sun like really shining on the box strongly, and the plants were at the top of the box, and so yeah, it might have got like overheated in there and dehydrated. It was, you know, the plants were mostly dryish when they were shipped, and so I didn't notice any real serious signs. I mean, the roots obviously look pretty good, and the leaves in general, there's no wrinkling. And then, like, yeah, we took it out of the box when I got it the second day after it got delivered. I took it home, took it out of the box, and about a couple hours later, looked over at it on the counter, and it was flopped over. So, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully this will help to restore it. Now, usually what I do, in the couple cases we've had in the past that paths have done this, is I just grow them somewhere where I can like put the pot under something like a shelf and just like let the leaves grow like this, and I grow it like that for a couple months, just, you know, mechanically holding it up, and then yeah, it seems like after, you know, a few weeks they start to get more solid, and then after a couple months they stand up again on their own. So I don't know, hopefully this thing bounces back. That's what I'm going to do for it. The floppiness is exactly what I just told you. I've got a spot with the little other plant shelf that I'm going to grow the pot under. And yeah, it should help it stand upright. Maybe I'll do the radiator. I got to see. But that's the plan. So yeah, we'll see how this this modified semi-hydroponics, I don't know. It's always an experiment, you know? Alright. There are a lot of holes. There's still some holes down there. So, right, the whole point of the semi-hydroponics is that it helps to wick moisture up through the little gaps in the leca pellets. Like, creates a capillary effect. So it's pretty important that you don't have really huge, large air spaces. Now that's in kind of direct contrast to when you grow in, say, like a traditional bark or something, where I think it's kind of good to have a few, you know, some air in there. The roots need air as much as they need water, so that's pretty important. But in semi-hydroponics, especially with Paphiopedilums, that's why I think one of the reasons why paths do so well with semi-hydro is that they need to be constantly moist around their roots. And so semi-hydroponics provides that constant moisture by the wicking effect of the pellets, right? So there's constantly water down there, and so it just pulls up, and the roots should never dry out on paths. That's the deal, right? So with semi-hydro, we can get away with watering them only, well, again, we flush them twice a week, but in the winter, you just fill up the reservoir and they aren't drinking much, and that's enough. You're not fertilizing a whole lot, so you're not going to get a ton of salts. And yeah, it's just a really great method for these plants. They do really well for us in semi-hydroponics. Now I do want to put a top dressing down of some heavier stones to help keep everything anchored, and but I won't do that now. We have some other issues. These two Paphiopedilums, normally for our semi-hydro, these have been in for 3 years, and I think they are good for at least another 3 years. It's completely inorganic media. As long as you keep the salt under control, you don't need to repot them really that often. And this leca doesn't break down. It stays really good. Now, again, you can get salt built up because it goes into the pores of these, and eventually you can have problems if you don't flush them consistently. The deal is on this particular one and this one, we've noticed a horrible smell when we water them. Just these two. Out of, well, we have like 30 Paphiopedilums in semi-hydroponics or so, and these are the only two that, I mean, the odor is extremely noticeable, very strong. It's like horrible gym sock rot kind of thing. It's a smell that everyone knows. You know it, and it's like, whew, as soon as the water flows out of these holes, it hits you. So there's a problem in the chemistry down here that we definitely need to address. And if nothing else, I'm just tired of smelling it. Like, even if it's, I don't even know, it's obviously some bacteria that's kind of, the culture has gone out of whack. And so I don't know if it's harmful to the roots. I assume it's not good, and perhaps all the roots are rotten down there. I have no idea. But real quick, we did actually, when we bought our plant for the project, we couldn't help ourselves to replace a plant that we lost a couple of years ago, the Papharianum. We had one that we lost and always wanted to replace it, and never really saw one when the time was right. And so, I bought this one at the same time. Cute little guy. Hopefully it makes it. So twice a week we flush our paths in semi-hydro on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and we typically will hold the media and dump out any water. You can see the water draining out from the reservoir. So any accumulated salts from the last few days, we get out of there, and then just hold it under the sink, fill it up until you see the water come up right at the base of the plant. Now the trick with that is when it's growing little new growths, you got to be careful not to get those wet. But then, let it drain out. Now sometimes, and there's that horrible smell. It's awful. Sometimes when I see that, like, I don't know, if they're looking at all weird, or like these couple that have really bad smells, I've been flushing a couple times every time I flush. So I'll actually do it a few times, sometimes 3 or 4 times. It's just, ugh. Yeah, and then I'll even drain the water out of the reservoir again, and then fill it up a 3rd time. Sometimes I'll even do it more than that, but typically on a typical Wednesday or Saturday, I will just do it once. Drain it, fill it up, and let it drain till just the reservoir is full. And then that sits full of water until I drain it the next time. Only a couple of our paths will drink the water in the reservoir, and then there's hardly anything when we go to drain it. most of them, it's pretty much still full. So I don't know. They don't drink a whole lot, but they just need that constant moisture there. Thanks for checking in, guys. If you want to see more Paphiopedilums and all the species, not all of them, but all of the groups of Paphiopedilum species for comparison, check out this video. Hope you're having a good one. See you guys soon.